Culturally Clueless.
Salam, guys. Welcome to Culturally Clueless. Thanks for tuning in, wherever you're tuning in from. And this week, we have Al-Nashmi and Maria, of course, here. And we're going to talk about the former president of the Philippines, Palestine, of course, Israel, of course, Mahmoud Khalil, the food industry, and much more. So make sure to tune in. Okay, guys, we're here and let's get started. It's Maria, of course. Maria, say hello to the people. I'm going to tell you something, guys. I need you to come hardcore in the comments for Maria. She just said, I'm just going to be here and I'm going to jump in and you guys are the center of the conversation. So please attack her in the comments.
No, Ness, throw me under the bus.
Yes, exactly. You know that I do that. So, and we have a guest. Do you want to introduce the guest today, Maria?
Of course, I want to introduce you guys to a new friend of mine. I just met him, but he's like family already. Al-Nashmi, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, thank you, Ness. Great being here. I'm really happy that we can have such a opportunity to come on Ness's live and have a great discussion, hopefully.
This is a podcast, so we are recorded and we are obviously streaming on all streaming platforms and on YouTube. So you guys know where to find us, whether it's Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Podbean, Pod whatever, and YouTube, of course. So yeah, that's just for the new people. And
let me say hello to my old people, to all my viewers, to everybody in the comments. Thank you guys for always be there, for always commenting. I read you all and I see what you want to see and I have it in mind and we're preparing it for you guys. Believe me.
Guys, still come for in the comments. Okay. We always start with Maria's question.
Well, I have a question, but it's not. Yeah, it is a question that happens this week.
Mm-hmm. What happened?
I met someone, and this person, I would say that is very confident. This person has very strong voice, very strong presence. Mm-hmm. So my question for you is, when is confident and when it becomes delusion? So that's my question for you guys. Have you ever seen people like because I admire people that are super confident, but isn't it like a very thin line between being confident and lack of self-awareness? That's my question today.
That's a very good question. Al-Nashmi, you want to go? What do you think?
Well, I think when it comes to delusion, I think it's mostly part of people who have heard or seen things, or not actually seen things, but heard things that they actually believe themselves to be true, although they're factual. They're not facts. And there are psychological perspectives on this. I mean, there's a thin line between, I think, confidence and delusion. There's something called, for example, the imposter syndrome.
Yes.
And grandiosity. I think a lot of people have these kinds of imposter syndromes. I think that the most important thing that we can do is present the facts so that we can try to erase illusion.
I think there is a very thin line between confidence and arrogance to begin with. I think a lot of people sometimes might come across confidence, but it gets very much mixed up with arrogance. And I feel like this is very dangerous because arrogance can definitely break your neck. And when it comes to delusion, Maria, I think you're talking about people who are confidently delusional, right? Like speaking things in such a confident way that are like crazy. And this happens way too often. But I will say this again, not everybody deserves a microphone. Not everybody deserves a platform.
Yeah, for example, sister, if I could come in. Yeah. I mean, Elon Musk, let's talk about Elon Musk, right? Mm-hmm. He has extreme confidence. He gives you the illusion that he's a extremely successful person. And he shows that he's a visionary, but he's actually contradictory to everything that he stands for.
I think he's on the
For
spectrum.
example, yeah, if you look at, for example, the electric vehicle thing, he's supporting a government that doesn't believe in green energy, but yet he is the one of the. I mean, the reason that he's successful and he became successful is because of his electric vehicle enterprise. So he gives the illusion that he's with green energy, he's for electric vehicles, but then he supports governments that are against moving forward with green energy. And they actually want to create more petroleum products and cause more pollution.
Look at this. Oh, perfect. Oh my God. Isn't it great?
Chris!
I know, it's my dream.
I have goosebumps everywhere.
Shout out to everybody who helped bring the Tesla shares down.
Actually, in Europe, I think the current situation in Europe, since the beginning of the year, the sales have been down 80%.
Alhamdulillah, I love it. Keep going. You have 20% more to go, guys.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of videos where people are putting stickers.
Yes.
We bought this Tesla before
Yes.
Elon Musk went crazy.
Yeah. My friend, I have a friend. She has a Tesla, and she did exactly that. Her and her husband did exactly that. And now
I saw a better sticker that they put in everywhere in public transportation. They say, "Hey, doesn't sell," and you see the graphics going down. That's my favorite one. I think I saw it was in London, and that was I love that one.
Maria, I think we have to upload these things to show the people here.
Yes, I will send it. It's an amazing video when they are posting and say, "Hey, doesn't sell," and you see the graphics or the plummet. And I was like, that was amazing. People are so creative.
We love that. Okay. Our next topic is something that is I think that occupied everybody's screens this week. And I think everybody was somehow trying to keep up with the story, and we still don't know much more. And we definitely, obviously, have to talk about Mahmoud Khalil, the guy that was arrested for no reason and had his green card revoked for no reason. He was taken from Jersey to Louisiana. One thing that I want to put out there before we start talking about this whole story is I don't know why people, it's very important for people to, when you, and I'm happy that a lot of people making videos about it and speaking on it. That's very great. But when you do these things, guys, then you need to go and do some research and find out some very important information. He was not a protester, and he is not pro-Palestinian. He is actually Palestinian. That's why this whole pro-Palestinian thing is just, I don't know. I just don't like that word in general anyways. But that's what we've been lumbered with, especially for the past 17 months, almost 18 months. And I just want to say that he was a negotiator on behalf of the protesting students who were involved in the encampments, especially when they barricaded themselves at Columbia University in Hamilton Hall last year. He was actually just the middleman between the students and between the administration of the university.
What? You're going to be under arrest. So turn around.
Okay,
Stop
let's
resisting.
not.
Stop resisting.
Okay, he's not resisting. He's giving me his phone, okay? He's not, I understand, he's not resisting.
Put your arm down.
Like,
Don't worry about it. You're going to have to come with us. Don't worry about it.
you guys really don't need to be doing all of that.
That's it. It's fine. Come on.
حبيبي كيف بدي اتصل فيك؟
Take Amy. Call Amy. She will
Okay. Hi Amy. Yeah, they just like handcuffed him and took him. I don't know what to do. Okay. And what should I do? I don't know. Nor. Let me ask. Can we get a name, please? Can we get your name? I understand the lawyer is asking for your name.
Go back, please. Go over there. We don't give our names.
The lawyer's asking for your name. He's saying they don't give their names.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They'll be taken into immigration custody at 26 Federal Plaza.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
They'll be taken to immigration custody at 26 Federal Plaza.
She said they're taking him to 26 Federal Plaza. Can you please specify what agency is taking him, please? Excuse me. They're not talking to me. I don't know. I don't know. Excuse me. The lawyer would like to speak to somebody. Oh my God, they're literally running away from me.
So he was smart enough not to protest. He was actually not physically involved in this. So when people say, oh, all he did was protest, no, he didn't even do that. He literally just was trying to negotiate on behalf of the students. That's it. So, you guys.
Sister, if you allow me to come in on this.
Anytime, don't even need to ask me.
Well, Mahmoud Khalil is a Palestinian, as you mentioned earlier, and he's on a permanent green card to the United States. He was a student at Columbia University, but his status in the United States had nothing to do with his being a student. He's actually married to a U.S. citizen. She's currently 8 months pregnant. And he was actually leading the Columbian University students, or helping actually the Columbian University students to speak out about the Palestinian issues and the probably I could say the genocide that's been happening in Gaza.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Ann Wright. I'm here in the Trump Towers in New York City with Jewish Voice of Peace saying, not in our names, I'm not Jewish, but I'm in solidarity. And we are here to say, free Mahmoud Khalil, to say, no more genocide in Gaza. Stop the genocide in Gaza. Free Palestine.
His legal team saying his arrest is unlawful retaliation against free speech.
He was taken by U.S. government agents in retaliation essentially for exercising his First Amendment rights, for speaking up in defense of Palestinians in Gaza and beyond, for being critical of the U.S. government and of the Israeli government.
The NYPD has filled its third bus full of protesters who are participating in a massive sit-in at Trump Tower. All this over the arrest of Palestinian activist and green card holder Mahmoud Khalil. NBC's Yasmin Vasugian is there on the ground for us. What are you seeing, Yasmin?
Yeah, so it seems as if the protest, Chris, now is wrapping up a bit. And I say that because there were numerous arrests that happened on the scene here outside of Trump Tower. As you mentioned, this was a protest by an activist group called Jewish Voices for Peace. They were protesting the ongoing detention of Mahmoud Khalil. We know that to be the grad student at Columbia University who helped organize those pro-Palestinian protests.
Now, if I look at this at the law perspective of the United States, so there's something in the United States that's called the First Amendment, which is freedom of speech and freedom of expression. Now, the current issue is with Mahmoud Khalil is that the current government, Marco Rubio, he's trying to justify his detention of Mahmoud Khalil and his deportation based on a 1952 law that was passed in Congress that allowed for the American government to deport Jewish collaborators that were with the Soviet Union. So he's using that same law to try and justify the reasons for the deportation. But the problem is that once we talk about this issue, the problem that we have here are two questions. The first question is whether a permanent green card holder has the same rights as a U.S. citizen. The second question is, does this affect the First Amendment in all of its entirety? So I would discuss these 2 points because it's important that if he is deported and if his rights were infringed upon, then what is it? My question would be, the U.S.'s democracy probably would go into a decline for a lot of reasons. If the U.S. is supposedly a refuge for people who are being persecuted around the world. Now, these people who come to the US on visas or green cards, they can no longer speak about the persecutions that they've faced in their governments because it doesn't go along with the current foreign policy of the United States. And this could be a huge decline in democracy.
I think democracy started declining since COVID immensely. I think it started declining even before that. And people don't even see that because a lot of people don't know. Social media content creators had to fight with it since 2013 when they tried to shut down certain speech on YouTube. Certain content was not allowed. Certain things were not allowed to be said or spoken about. And a lot of content creators who had their whole platforms built on certain things couldn't even continue that anymore. And it was creeping in slowly, and COVID definitely, I want to say, paralyzed a lot of it. And it's continuing and getting even worse when it comes to freedom of speech. Media, there is no freedom of speech. Journalism codex is completely dead. Like knowing the truth and right to the news and journalism is also in our fundamental rights. That's also gone. So honestly, for me, the situation with Mahmoud Khalil is not surprising. What is surprising to me is that people are allowing this.
And I want to remove the technicality and the green card holders and all this terminology outside and make it as clear as possible. I want everybody to understand that the President of the United States sent armed forces to a civilian's house, taking out of her home for just being who he is. This is very dangerous. This is crossing all the lines. And on top of that, he tweeted, because that's how he communicates, that he's the first one. So let everything behind. This man sent armed forces to a civilian house and took him from his home. This is like fascism 101.
Did you guys see the video? Did you see the video when he was arrested?
I see the video.
We've seen the video.
Heartbreaking. Absolutely
heartbreaking. And they wouldn't even tell the wife where they're taking him.
That was the crazy part.
Yeah, he was kidnapped, basically. The government kidnapped him. Nobody knows where he is. I think he's in Louisiana or something like that, but we don't know for sure.
Yeah.
So he took him for his pregnant wife, and it was in the middle, and with no explanation, no warrant, no nothing. This is very dangerous. Now it's him, tomorrow could be you. So you need to take this personal.
I mean, if they're trying to infringe on green card holders' rights, what is it to say that they won't be able to do that in the future on American citizens? I mean, and in accordance to the Constitution, actually, and in accordance to the law, the current laws of the United States, green card holders and visa holders are all subjected to the same rights. But now the government is trying to argue in federal court that green card holders and visa holders don't have the same rights as U.S. citizens. And this is dangerous. This is extremely dangerous. Because, for example, if the U.S. is currently cozying up to Putin, to Russia, so all Russian citizens that travel to the United States to seek refuge because of what's been happening to them in Putin's government, now they can't speak up about Putin because Trump will threaten them to throw them back into Russia where they'll be persecuted and probably jailed for life. That's if not they're killed or executed. This is dangerous territory that the U.S. government is going forward with. And the only problem that we have now is that if this gets to the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court's ruling, either if it was positive or it was on a negative point for Mahmoud Khalil, what it would do, it would probably work out all the cases for the future. So if Mahmoud Khalil is deported, then what the Supreme Court is saying that all green card holders cannot speak. They should come into the United States and be quiet. And then if it is in the positive, and I hope to God that Mahmoud Khalil would get a positive ruling, then what would happen is actually it would make sure that all green card holders, whoever they are, or visa holders that come into the United States have the same rights and opportunities and laws as a U.S. citizen.
Well, to be honest, I think to me, what is also a very important factor. If anyone thinks this is just about Palestine, if anyone thinks this is just about Gaza, if anyone thinks this is just about a genocide, then you are totally mistaken. Because freedom of speech stopped existing a long time ago, slowly. Okay, we had it with COVID. We have it now even more so. The journalists in the UK are coming out and talking, finally speaking on the narrative that's been given by a certain people, and that this narrative is standing above any and everything. And that the propaganda is real. And if you guys think that this is just going to concern this situation here, you're totally mistaken. This is just the beginning. If you ever want to come out and protest about whatever that you feel you want to protest about or speak on about, and if they don't like it, you will be shut down the same way. And what Donald Trump is always doing, he's always testing the waters. Like same thing, like he came and then it was like, oh yeah, we're going to just take Gaza. We're going to just like expel the Palestinians and all of this. We're going to talk about it in a bit as well, because there is actually some new developments which are absolutely ridiculous. And if this wasn't reality, I would think this is like a bad comedy show. So this is not just only for the people who stand with Palestine. This is for everyone. And if you still don't see it, then you will never wake up.
Yeah, sister, if you'd allow me to add something else as well, it's, I think, very important. For example, you're here in Europe, and you've seen what happened when Russia invaded Ukraine. What happened is that the European government went and banned all Russian media outlets.
Yes.
I think that's infringing on people's freedom of speech and freedom of expression, because what you're trying to do is push the narrative of the European narrative, while declining the Russians to speak out about their own narrative. Now, I'm not pro-Russia, I'm not pro-Ukraine. I don't have any issues concerning this issue, but I do have an issue with the fact that you try to ban a specific media outlet so I don't hear the other side's story. And that is dangerous. That is really dangerous, because what you're trying to do is brainwash all Europeans according to your narrative. And your narrative is always going to be subjective. It's not objective.
Yes, 100%. And another thing that stood out to me here, especially with this case with Mahmoud Khalil, what they're doing is what's been happening to Palestinians for like almost 8 decades. They just being abducted and kidnapped from the homes, from the streets, and from everywhere. And they just been detained for literally nothing, without charges. So this whole administrative detention program that they run in the occupied territories in the Middle East is exactly what's happened here in the US with Mahmoud Khalil. He has been abducted from home by the authorities. Nobody wants to give a reason. He had his green card revoked, and he was taken somewhere where nobody knows where he is. And this is like a week and a day now. Okay, we're recording on a Sunday. You guys will see this on a Tuesday. Maybe there's going to be some new developments. Until then, we don't know. Let's see. But I'm just saying, this is the same administrative detention that's happening in the occupation. It's now in the U.S.
Yeah, and the only thing, I mean, the current government is actually trying to push for an immigration lawyer to take a look at the case, while Mahmoud Khalil's lawyers are looking for a federal judge to take in the case. And I thank God that a federal judge has already taken over the case, and he has banned Mahmoud Khalil's deportation. He's asked for Mahmoud Khalil to come back to New York, but the current government is trying to push that they're trying to push that a Louisiana court take over the case. And I don't think it's fair. The reason they want a Louisiana court to take over the case is probably because they're mostly pro-Republicans.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And also another thing that we need to take in consideration is that that he, a few days prior, he actually told the administration from Colombia that he was being followed, or he was being stalked, or he was being doxxed, whatever it may be that he said. And then, a little bit of digging takes you to the dean of Colombia being like part of the ITF in the past.
Yeah.
Ain't that interesting?
Yeah, and she actually just pushed another 22 students. I mean,
Yes.
she released their names. She suspended some of them. She revoked some of their degrees. I mean, we're talking about people who have the right to freedom of speech and expression, and these people are out there trying to silence somebody. I don't care what they're talking about. The main issue is not what they're talking about. The main issue is their right for that freedom.
Yeah.
And I want to make our viewers, listeners, especially in the United States, guys, maybe bombs are not falling on your heads right now, but you are occupied. Your government is occupied. Someone else has the hands on what is going to happen to your budget, to your representative, and this is happening now. You are seeing it. If you don't notice what's happening, it's by choice, because it's very crystal clear.
I agree, sister.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And you know what? I just want to move it to the next topic because it's actually almost connected. So Adam Bola, he was the hostage negotiator, and the U.S. had a meeting between them and Hamas to negotiate about the U.S. Hostages that are still held in Gaza. And it was done without the occupation. And they met. They didn't speak about no ceasefire, about nothing. It was literally just about negotiating certain things for the hostage exchange and what could be done. And so Adam Bola was the leader of this hostage team. He came back, and his narrative was very interesting because when he talked about it, his words were actually quite surprising, I want to say.
Axios' reporter Barak Ravid is reporting the top Israeli official Ron Dermer strongly discouraged you from talking directly with Hamas. He said it was a tense phone call. Tell us about that. Do you understand why Netanyahu, Dermer, others might be upset?
I do understand. I spoke with Ron, and I'm sympathetic. He has someone that he doesn't know well, making direct contact with Hamas. Maybe I would see them and say, look, they don't have horns growing out of their head. They're actually guys like us. They're pretty nice guys. So he doesn't know me, and there are big stakes. He lives in a country where if it sets certain precedents, then it will hurt or help a lot of other people. So I understand the consternation and the concern, and I wasn't upset. At the same time, we're the United States. We're not an agent of Israel. We have specific interests at play, and we did communicate back and forth. We had very specific parameters by which we fell, and the reality is what I wanted to do is jumpstart some negotiations that were in a very fragile place. And I wanted to say to Hamas, what is the end game that you want here? Not the dream end game, but what do you think is realistic at this point? Because until we know that, it's very hard to reach some sort of truce or some sort of end to hostility. So in the end, I think it was a very helpful meeting. It was very helpful to hear some back and forth. But I think Israel knows walking out of that, it's not like Hamas got the world because I thought they were a bunch of nice guys.
I don't know if you agree with me, guys, but the fact that he would say Hamas are very nice guys, they're just like us, they don't have horns growing out their heads, that was not what we would have expected anyone from or who works with or for the U.S. government to say.
Yeah, his scene was humanize Hamas.
And it received much anger from the Israeli side, didn't it? I mean, the Netanyahu was extremely upset and angry that he actually met with Hamas, and but I think it came out into a positive. I don't know if you guys seen the news lately. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons that Netanyahu agreed to send his delegation to negotiate the continuation of the ceasefire was because Adam Bola met with Hamas, because he was afraid that they're going to cut Netanyahu off the deal.
Oh, he had no choice. Exactly, he had no choice. And to be honest, but Ebola, unfortunately, he got his get back in a very nasty way. Of course, he was fired after these comments. And what I find interesting is about it is I wonder who initiated this firing. You know, was it Netanyahu? Was it like the Israeli government, or was it the U.S. government themselves? I'm just wondering sometimes, because he did say, and that is very important, he did say the USA is not Israel's agent.
That was my favorite phrase. I know that people overlook that, but I love it because maybe the government doesn't see it that way. To answer to your question, was definitely the Israeli Netanyahu to push his firing. I can bet money on that. But maybe that phrase, maybe the government doesn't follow for us, the people, us on the ground, us protesting, want to make clear to these occupiers that the U.S. is not an agent on Israel. And the young people are taking over now. They are learning what is happening, and soon we're going to recover our country again.
Yeah, but I'm 100% sure that he was fired because of the pressure that the Israelis put on.
The Israeli, they push it for sure.
Yeah, because what their perspective was that his perspective of negotiating with Hamas, it doesn't align with the U.S.'s foreign policy of not negotiating with terrorists. I don't consider Hamas terrorists, but that's what the U.S. considers them. So they use that same statement or argument that he wasn't supposed to meet with Hamas, he wasn't supposed to have any kind of negotiations with Hamas. But the only reason that the U.S. foreign policy put Hamas as a terrorist is because they're just, satisfying Israel's need to try and remove any kind of resistance from Israel.
Yeah. And Hamas is only considered a terrorist group by the U.S. and Israel and a few other. Around the world, they are freedom fighters. These men are orphans. They grow up losing everything. These are human. This is people like you and me that just want the human right. That's all they're asking. The right to exist in their land. That's all the Hamas are. Freedom fighters.
I agree, sister. And the reason I agree for that is this is not my comments. These are not my statements. These are statements of officials, heads of state that were part of the Security Council resolutions. They refused to put Hamas as a terrorist organization because most of the countries around the world consider Hamas a resistance fighting group. And, the Palestinians have the right to resist. The Palestinians have the right to resist in any way that they can. And, it's only the U.S. and Israel and some other European countries that put Hamas as a terrorist group. But that was only just to satisfy, not only satisfy, I think to push for policies to completely eradicate the Palestinians' rights and self-determination.
I mean, it's more and more organizations. We have Amnesty International and stuff like we were talking about the genocide. Now we have the ICC is going to review the aid situation. I mean, I don't personally believe in the ICC and ICJ anymore. If I learned one thing last year, that all of these institutions are just hoax, and I don't really, trust international law, human rights, everything that was supposed to be so well protected after people made all of these mistakes in the past wars and past genocides in the world. None of that is true. And, the latest thing is this 49-page report from that was taken to the UN that also shows how this is a genocide. When we talk about gender-based violence, there is this report speaks on, fertility clinics being attacked in Gaza. They talk about, women's when like giving birth in hospitals, these places being utterly attacked, and so much more, so this is stopping people from procreating, and this is kind of like, in a way, ethnic cleansing if you are deliberately targeting these kind of facilities and if you target people in that kind of way.
Yeah, and I would advise everybody listening to this podcast here, There was a couple of days ago, there was a new report by the Human Rights Council, which is part of the United Nations, on the treatment of the Palestinians in Israeli detentions. The report was very conclusive. It had a lot of evidence from prisoners about sexual violence, rape, and torture. I would advise everybody to take a look at that report, read it, and try to understand the other perspective.
Yes. And we're kind of like staying on topic when it comes to, freedom of speech, and when it comes to infringement of freedom of speech, or, like also falsifying information and spreading disinformation and misinformation. And some people take it to another level. So we're traveling a little bit to Australia. And no, guys, that doesn't mean that Ray is here.
My brother from Australia.
Just saying.
Shout out to him.
Just saying. Before they get overly excited just because I mentioned Australia. So there was actually a story, and I find this story absolutely. And this happened a couple of weeks ago. And I did pay attention to it, and I was going to bring it to the podcast, but I just wanted to see, because I don't like, bringing breaking stories right away. I like to see the development. Where's the story going? What else does the story has to offer? What makes it worth covering the whole story? So this is a man with a Star of David, a white cap, entering an Egyptian cafe in Australia called Qahira. Let's shout out to the cafe because I think they did amazing the way that they handled it. So he entered, he ordered his hibiscus tea, he hung out a little bit, he was asked by a staff member, can I help you? He was like, do you have a problem with me because I'm Jewish? Very odd, very weird. And he left. After he left, a journalist comes in and asks, did you have a problem with this man because he was Jewish? So you had a problem with him. So this whole kind of like starts a little commotion. They all leave, start to make a scene in a way where they're trying to paint anti-Semitic situation. So the staff member, she followed them and recorded with the mobile phone how this was all a hoax by the Telegraph of the Australia Telegraph, which is a newspaper. So guys, if we learned something from this, don't believe the Telegraph in Australia. Don't believe any newspapers. Always make sure that you do your own research. And this is very important. And then there's another story where there was a caravan with explosives, also painted as an anti-Semitic situation again, that was exposed rather quickly. Did you guys hear about it?
Tuesday afternoon, and Cairo Takeaway Cafe is buzzing when a man wearing a Star of David cap walks in and orders a hibiscus tea. He moves to the back of the cafe, wearing glasses with a camera. He turns them on and he leaves, following the female staff member who served him. They're at the door when the man in the cap speaks up. The alleged conversation relayed to the cafe's chef.
Am I upsetting you being here? And she said, no, I'm just asking you, what do you want? He says, because I'm Jewish.
Seconds later, a senior journalist from the Daily Telegraph enters with her photographer and allegedly asks the same female server, have you got a problem with the man with the white cap? She says, why would I have a problem? Eventually they leave, the cafe worker not far behind, and she's now the one with the camera.
That is out and out intimidation. Who comes into a restaurant and asks me a question about this gentleman who I don't even know?
Do you think it's not intimidation that you found it appalling that he came into your shop?
Show me that you're from the Daily Telegraph.
Easy.
I don't know, I think something's upsetting.
It was all part of a stunt planned by the Daily Telegraph, allegedly called Undercover Operation. A leaked planning document reads, meet Gussie at Holt Street, call on arrival at 9 a.m. Undercover Jewish man Ophir Birnbaum sees what it's like being Jewish in Sydney.
We as a small community restaurant accept everyone into our restaurant and our venue and respect all walks of life.
Ophir Birnbaum is a prominent member of Sydney's Jewish community. During the recent anti-Semitic attacks, he pushed for unity.
You have to respect each other. People can disagree respectfully.
9 News understands the Daily Telegraph contacted a Jewish organisation to help facilitate the story, but they declined. The cafe owner called police, and after a 3-day investigation it was decided no crime had been committed. Late this afternoon, the Daily Telegraph responded, saying they never intended to provoke an incident and their approach could have been better handled.
What do you think?
Well, I think, sister, one of the things that these media outlets, they do, and the things that they keep on trying to do is try to dehumanize a specific group of people. And for them to go in there and do what they did, it's kind of disgusting, to be honest. Because, I mean, the world is full of racism. The world is full of anti-Semitism. The world is full of xenophobia. And we don't need media outlets to try to fabricate stories and try to fabricate situations. And this shows you exactly that this is why the public no longer trusts media, because they engage in deceptive practices. And they always fabricate any threat that is actually there. And it's, I think social media has brought us closer to the truth than any other media outlet for the last 30 years.
It's true. I want to comment to the Australia cafe, the Asian cafe in Australia. Actually, I'm so glad the Telegram went that low, because if you saw the video, the way that the people received this man was so welcoming. Very how Arabs are. Hi, welcome. They were so nice. The offer, like the only thing that displays is how friendly they are. And when they couldn't get any reaction, they had to push it. So every accusation is a confession. You just display how welcome Arab people are. And when you couldn't get the image that you wanted, you tried to push it, and they came back even nicer and smarter. So to all these people that try to paint a narrative, the truth always comes out. Always.
Sister, what they try to do is they're trying, I mean, in the West mostly, they're trying to show that Arabs are intolerant. Muslims are extremists. We don't accept others. And that video actually proves the opposite.
Yeah, they blow in the faces.
We have no problem. Let's say if it's in Jordan or in Egypt or in all of the other Middle Eastern countries or Muslim countries, a Jew walks in and asks for a coffee. Nobody's gonna say anything that is against that Jew, as long as he's not pushing for pro-Zionist propaganda.
So my favorite part of the story is actually their comment, the statement that the cafe made. And they said clearly that they don't have a problem with anyone coming in. They're very accommodating to everyone. And they also stated that they would advise people not to walk in occupational gear into a pro-Palestinian cafe. That's the only thing that they said. If you walk in here, make sure that you don't come with your Israeli flag or whatever you feel like. As a Jew, you're always welcome. But if you are a supporter of a genocide, that means don't walk into that, because you're going to get backlash. And they also stated at the very same time, they wouldn't walk with any Palestinian flags or kufi or whatever into a pro-Israeli cafe. And I find this a very fair statement, and I find this very real. And that's why I shout out to them, because in these days, you cannot openly say what you really think. And I think this is a very fair statement. Don't expect to be tolerated if you come as a genocide supporter. But at the same time, if we come into your facilities, we're not going to show up wearing, our stuff.
But sister, I mean, if you allow me to add a statement here, but this shows you how the Zionist political agenda has hijacked the Jewish religion.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, they claim that all Jews are Zionists and all Zionists are Jews, and that's not true. That is not true. So when they hijack, when Netanyahu goes on a podium in the United Nations and he says that he's the prime minister of all Jews, that is dangerous.
It is.
That is dangerous rhetoric, because what you're doing is any policy that you pass that is against human rights or against or with genocide. What you're doing is you're allowing the people of the world to look at Jews as they look at Israel.
Well, that's why I always say, like people are not, like communities are not monolith. We're not all the same. We are not all the same. And that's why I judge people based on who they are and not what community they're from.
Exactly. I mean, for example, I'm a Muslim. I don't think Saudi Arabia speaks for me. I don't think Jordan speaks for me. I don't think Iran speaks for me. I speak for myself. I have a lot of policies that these countries pass that I don't agree with, but it doesn't mean that I would support them no matter what. And I wouldn't want any of those heads of state to come out and say, I speak on behalf of all Muslims. No, they don't speak on behalf of all Muslims. What Netanyahu's doing is he's hijacking the Jewish religion. And the only reason he's doing that is because he wants the support of the Western world to say that, yes, he is the prime minister of all Jews, although not all Jews live in Israel. And not all Jews agree to Israel's policies. And not all Jews agree with Netanyahu. And not all Jews are Zionists. Actually, there's a lot of Jews, especially in the United States, who are pro-Palestinian. And they are fighting for the Palestinian cause.
100%. Even when we go back to Mahmoud Khalil, the sit-in that they had in the Trump Tower with the Jewish Voices for Peace, or Not in Our Name, that was so many of them. So many.
Yeah. And sister, there are organizations. There's an organization in the U.S. called Jews for Palestine.
Yes.
I mean, Netanyahu goes on a podium and says that he's the prime minister of all Jews. Are you a prime minister of those Jews? Then why don't you listen to them?
It's insane, literally insane. And the other part of the story with the caravan, I just love how the police exposed the prime minister. Or was it the other way around? I don't even remember. Maria, what was it again?
The prime minister, and I love that too, because they couldn't hide it. But no, they exposed it. So shout out to them for that. More people wanted to.
Absolutely. And we're going to travel a little bit, and it's going to be something again. And this is guys, we really try hard to cover different type of topics. It's not my fault if everything somehow leads back to Zionism. Okay. It's insane. Because I really try. We really try. Like Maria and I go through the topics during the week, and it's just like, okay, no, there's too much of this. Okay, no, we need to try something else. But every time, some way, somehow, these people are in the midst of it and the instigators of it most of the time. So we want to talk about the former president of the Philippines, Rodrigo Duterte. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Duterte, yes.
Yeah, that's his name. So he has been brought to the ICC for crimes against humanity. And for those who don't know, and there's many people who don't know, Philippines was facing a huge drug problem in, 2016 and prior. And this man literally told the police, just go and shoot everybody. Don't arrest them. Don't bother investigate. Don't bother, like however you deal with drug people, like drug dealers, drug sellers, or I don't know, addicts, just shoot people. So that's what happened. The police was shooting people around the country. And what they're saying is that between 7,000 and 30,000 people have been shot. And that is insane. If you think about it, right? We're talking about a war on drug, how they call it. So now we're going to shoot all of these people. That's not little. That's a lot of people.
Yeah, they are not targeting who brought the inside the drug. They're targeting the people affected. Like shoot first and ask question later.
Just shoot. Like whatever. Doesn't matter. Just shoot them.
Yeah, and actually, guys, there was a lot of reports when he did actually launch that. He actually said that it was an aggressive anti-drug campaign, but trying to eradicate illegal drugs and trafficking in the Philippines. But the problem here is that his campaign, or his anti-drug campaign, actually resulted in, again, as Ness said, probably 30,000 deaths. But a lot of these deaths were actually suspicious. and under suspicious circumstances. And many of them even said that some of them are even political opposition.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't think that he was targeting the traffic or the drug. They were targeting people.
Exactly.
Yeah, he killed innocent individuals, and I mean, not only that, he used his I mean, it's like enacting martial law and then going after every single person that disagrees with you.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're allowed to do that, then this is the laws of the jungle.
100%. And for those people who are wondering why I said that this is somehow related to the occupation, I'll tell you what. So the Philippines had to acquire weapons for the police to do that. And you have one guess to know who they bought the weapons from.
I think we all know.
Yeah, go ahead, Al-Nashmi. Tell them where the weapons come from.
I think we all know where it came from.
Exactly.
It started with ease
and ends with not real. So yes, and there is a statement that was made, and I'm gonna try to find that statement because I think it's very important that we actually show it here, where they said the reason why they bought the weapons from that place is simply because no questions asked. You want the weapons? Give me the money. Here you go. Goodbye.
And we can go a little farther.
Exactly. Because other European countries, the US, Canada, and all of these countries that have specific laws, they actually have to know what these weapons are going to be used for.
Exactly.
And they have enacted laws that these weapons are not to be used against any kind of oppression or anything that might cause, the deaths of civilians or innocent civilians. So the only country that doesn't have these laws and doesn't really care about whether you kill civilians or not is Israel. I mean, they all they care about is profit.
Why should they care, right?
Yeah, if you want to go a little deeper in the rabbit hole, like Duarte get the weapon for Israel, and you can guess where Israel get the weapon from, right?
Oh yeah, that's a chain reaction.
It's a chain reaction.
I would also say, I would also ask people here who are listening to this, you can go and do research also on Azerbaijan, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Who supplies them weapons and who actually pushes for war in Azerbaijan with the Armenians? It's Israel. They provide weapons and no questions asked.
100%. So, but there's actually 2 points that are very interesting here with this case as well. The Philippines do not have to actually hand this guy out. It's just that because they withdrew from the ICC. They're actually not even part of that, okay? But Interpol asked and they delivered, and that's what really happened. Because again, the Philippines are not part of the ICC legislation thing.
Yes, but sister, who withdrew from the ICC? It was Duterte himself in 2000.
Exactly.
so it's like a criminal going to court and firing the judge.
Yes, and that was the second. That was exactly my second point. Exactly that. So he actually did that, and Interpol asked, but the Philippines decided to hand him out. So he was there last Friday. The highest punishment that the ICC can give is 30 years. But let's see. Probably, you know what? Probably they're going to make an example out of him. He's probably going to get the punishment simply because, so that nobody can say, "Oh, you guys are not doing anything." Because he's not that important on the scale of things.
I wonder why he's the one that they're gonna put as an example.
Because he's not important. Who cares about the former president?
Because it's a person of color, of course.
But yeah, but who cares about him? He did it to himself.
I also want to remind everybody here. Remember when Lindsey Graham, senator in the U.S., came out and says the ICC was established to go after people that are against the West. He actually said that. He actually said that.
Did, yeah.
What he meant was people of color. And they're not supposed to go after people like Netanyahu or the U.S. government or any Western country. They're supposed to go after people of color. And to prove that point, if you look back at the history since its establishment, the ICC has been going after people in Africa, mostly, for most part of it. And when the ICC actually indicted Putin, the U.S. government hailed it as a victory. But when they indicted Netanyahu, they sanctioned them. I mean, this shows the hypocrisy and the double standards that these people are willing to. I mean, they're not even trying to hide it anymore.
No, they're not. No, they're not. And guys, as I said, it's not our fault. We really try hard to cover different type of topics, but you can see it just leads there.
No, but joke aside, is one of the things that made me advocate so hard for Palestine is because when I did research and study, I noticed there's a common denominator in all these issues around the world, and Congo, Sudan, and the minute that we liberate Palestine, it's gonna be I feel in my heart it's gonna be like a domino effect. One by one.
Mr. Ness, if you would allow me just to cover some small statement. Duterte did withdraw from the ICC, but the ICC's claims are that Duterte's withdrawal doesn't remove their jurisdiction because they happened during the time that the Philippines was part of the ICC. So, so any crimes that he's committed before the 2019 withdrawal, the ICC does have jurisdiction. This is why the Philippines had to hand him over, because the ICC prosecutes based on dates and not based on the time of your withdrawal.
Perfect. Exactly. Very well said. All right. So now we're going to talk about something that has been something I've been actually talking about for a very, very, very long time. If you guys been there in the other podcast, then you know exactly that I've been always talking about that food and water and everything is the number one thing that when it comes to poisoning us or causing us any type of health issues, especially chronic health issues. So we have the food industry is basically changing up and switching up their game a little bit simply because for some time now, we know about Ozempic entering the market and then other similar stuff to the Ozempic shots entered the market like Trulicity. Actually, I think Trulicity was there before. Then it was Ozempic, Wegovy, and some other ones. And this is actually like these shots that are for the people who have diabetes too, so that they can kind of like, put their diabetes in check. And this is the GLP-1 hormone, which means that is the hormone that makes sure that the insulin in your blood is slowing down and you don't get hungry all the time. And it kind of like suppresses your appetite and makes your, now I cannot think of the name. Oh my gosh, the body part. I can't think of it.
Insulin level.
Well, what is this thing called that deals with the insulin? Oh my gosh, how did I forget the word?
The pancreas.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, the pancreas is actually working a little bit harder because, again, for those who don't know, just to make it very, very brief, diabetes is a insulin's resistant, disease. And so you see, like, there's a lot of celebrities who got on Ozempic because it was promoted as a weight loss medication. And not only that, people did lose weight with it. Not everybody, I can say that, but a lot of people lost weight with it. And then when celebrities do something, then everybody else gets involved as well. So everybody was getting on these Ozempics and Wegovys and whatnot. And people were losing weight, not thinking about the side effects, that affecting your bones, affecting some other stuff.
Big Food just found a way to hack Ozempic, and they're doing it in secret. The story is actually crazy. Okay, so there's a food laboratory in Northern California called Matson that is, quote unquote, creating the future of food. It's run by this guy named Justin Shimmick, PhD. So he is a smart guy, and he has monetized his intelligence quite well. It says for nearly 50 years, Matson has conceptualized, developed, branded, and scaled hundreds of product lines, and in the process created billions of dollars in revenue for clients. And right now, their clients, Big Food, is asking them to do experiments that will reformulate ingredients so that their food can bypass the effects of Ozempic, Wegovy, and other GLP-1 weight loss drugs. Because from a financial perspective, people on these weight loss drugs are buying less food. Walmart CEO John Furnard recently told Bloomberg News that the company is seeing signs that people taking GLP-1 agonist appetite suppressant medications are buying, quote, less units, slightly less calories, which equals less profit. New York Times has reported that sales are down in sweet baked goods and snacks, and the industry is weathering a downturn. That's a big problem for these food executives. So in response, the food companies are designing what they call GLP-1 optimized products. In layman's terms, they're trying to make the food more addictive, even more addictive than they already are, because we know that food is already pretty addictive. Quote, there is little the industry hasn't tried to keep health-conscious consumers eating. Companies conceal clouds of nostalgic aromas into packaging to trigger Proustian reverie. When they discovered that noisier chips induced people to eat more of them, snack engineers turned up the crunch. Food technologists found a way to amplify the intensity of artificial sweeteners to hundreds of times beyond sugar's natural flavor. The structure of salt crystals can be altered to accelerate the speed at which they absorb into the chemical pathways that signal saltiness, allowing the brain to perceive the flavor more intensely. In the chemosensory world, referring to the science of how chemicals provoke sensations, almost anything is possible.
But what we want to talk about today is actually the food industry, how they are now complaining because they're selling less snacks, they're selling less, like unhealthy food, like baked goods and stuff like that. And because people are like, trying to be healthy. Now this lifestyle has been in for quite a while. Everybody turns vegan because you guys think vegan is being healthy, which is the biggest BS ever. But okay. So, yeah. What do you guys think about it? Do you think it's just hoax? Do you think it's just like not true? Or you think the food industry is really suffering?
Well, sister, what I would say is this. I mean, during the a long time ago, it was really difficult to find out information about specific products or specific chemicals that are used in the food industry. And doing the research on it needed books, publications issued by the World Health Organization, and going, to different independent organizations to try to understand what these chemicals are and how they affect the human body. But in today's world, what I see is that now that we have social media and we have, Google, we have, at a press of a button, you can find out if something is good for you, something is bad for you. A lot of people, for example, don't know that in the U.S., for example, a patty, it has corn syrup. Yeah. A lot of people don't know that ketchup has corn syrup. A lot of people don't know every single thing that they make in the U.S. almost has corn syrup. And this is completely dangerous.
It is. I mean, over here in Europe, we don't have corn syrup, but it doesn't mean that the food is just not, as unhealthy. Because I don't know if you know, for example, and that was like crazy. That's to me, that's so disgusting, to be honest, is the fact that the EU approved insects going in our food as some of the replacement for some other ingredients.
Well, yeah, the reason they do that is because actually, if we look, sister, I have to tell you this, and probably everybody on the panel, everybody here on the podcast is going to hate me for this. Cocoa, for example, cocoa is produced, and the US and Europe both allow up to 8%, again, 8% of leftover insects within a cocoa powder.
You mean cocoa or you mean coconut?
No, cocoa for chocolate.
Cocoa powder.
So when you're eating chocolate, you're eating 8% insects.
But also Smarties. Smarties. This is made out of lice, the shell and beetles. Oh my God, it's so disgusting.
But guys, this is natural. Guys, this is natural because the thing is this: when you're
insects are organic.
Yeah, no. When you're farming, and you're trying to filter out everything that comes with the products in the farm. You can't always do that. That's completely impossible. But again, the only reason we know all of this information now is because at the press of a button we can find out what these ingredients have. But before, they always had them. If anybody had grandparents that were farmers, for example, you would pick up an apple, and you think it's completely safe, there's no problem with it, and then you'll eat it. But probably within that apple, inside of that apple, you have worms and eggworms that you can't actually see. But it's fine. It's healthy.
No,
it's normal. It's healthy. It's normal. We have a saying in Arabic. It says "Duditha fi uditha," which means it means its worm is inside its seed.
It's fruit. Yeah.
Is the worm is inside what?
The seed.
It's seed. So so every fruit that we eat. Actually, I would advise people also, when you buy strawberries, put them in what I do to try to remove any of those products from inside of the fruits. Is I wash the fruits and vegetables with sodium bicarbonate and some vinegar. It actually destroys anything that's alive, or eggs of any worms or anything inside the fruit. So you guys can try that. But then
don't try it. Do it, because I do the same for each vegetable and each fruit I eat. There is no way I'm not. I've been doing this. I will continue to do so, and I even double up.
Exactly. So, and a lot of people probably, after hearing this, they're going to stop eating chocolate. But guys, go ahead, eat chocolate. It's fine. It's healthy. It's not a problem. That 8%, is considered protein.
I never expected you to say that. Oh my gosh!
I read an article that say the insects are the solution to world hunger.
I don't care, bro. No, stop causing world hunger. Then
it's protein.
People don't have to eat insects. If you guys stop causing world hunger, it's that simple. Like, why are we eating
you
this?
Guys?
Well, guys, to go back on the topic. To go back on the topic of food, there's something that I really need to say.
Mm-hmm.
The more our population grows, the more that we have to find sustainable solutions for production.
So you agree with the 3D printer food? Like the 3D meat out of the
no, I don't.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. What about the lab-made meat, where they take like cells of? Thank you.
I don't agree.
I'm glad to hear that.
I don't agree.
That's why insect is the way to go.
And actually, I don't agree. I don't agree how they actually mass produce foods, because that is also causing huge health problems for a lot of people around the world. For example, where I'm at in Eastern Europe, we have chickens that are fully grown within 15 days.
Yes.
15 days.
Yeah. That's the growth hormones. That's everything.
A chicken that grows within 15 days is a problem.
Yeah.
Because they keep injecting it with hormones and antibiotics to stop it from getting sick and to grow its fat base. And that's actually not healthy at all. There are areas where I'm at, we go and we buy natural chicken. Guys, if you see the difference in meat color, you wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
The chicken that I buy from natural sources, their meat color is actually reddish.
Yeah,
And
I know what you mean.
I was surprised, sister. I was surprised when when I came here and I saw it for the first time. I was like, what the hell is this? Is this lamb? But it was actually just chicken.
Let me ask you something. Yeah, go ahead, Maria. You go first.
Go ahead. You first.
You first. No, mine too. You go first.
No, because I was saying, in this particular case, I think it's us, the consumer responsibility. Like the overconsumption is our discipline. We need to be more disciplined. Do we really need that much? Like, do we really need to eat meat every single day? Like, this is affecting our forests, our environment. I think it's our responsibility to educate ourselves and try to consume less.
Unfortunately, sister, I would say that this is not according to our responsibility, because you can't find any products that you produce yourself unless you go buy a farm.
But
you make products alone. But as long as we're going to the supermarket And as long as we're doing the shopping that are being pushed to us by mass producers, because this is what they are, they're mass producers. And the only thing they care about is profit. They don't care about your health or what it might affect you or how it might affect you, as long as they're feeding you and they're getting you fatter.
Who control that? Your wallet. I see families of 3 persons going to, for example, Costco and buy a lot of so many things that, do you really need that much? Do you really need like 100 eggs? Do you really need, like the consumption is too much. Like we are over consuming things that we don't actually need. Cereal is one of the worst meals, and people consume so much of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what
and sister, to be honest, for example, for me, I don't give my daughter anything that's which I perceive is not healthy. But again, at the end of the day, I still have to get it from the supermarket. I can't produce it myself.
No, but you don't have to buy meat.
Yeah,
you don't have to eat meat every day.
Yeah, for example, cereal. I don't give my daughter cereal. I never did and never will. What I do give her is oatmeal, for example. Oatmeal, I think, is healthy. It gives you the fibers that you need per day. And I usually mix it with a little milk and some honey and cinnamon. And she loves it.
That's sweet.
Exactly.
That's nice.
Yeah, same here in my household. Like we try to consume as little meat as possible, more vegetables, and I try to make it fun, right? To make it not notice. But I feel like it's my responsibility as like a mother to teach her that she doesn't need that much, that she doesn't need this, that this is what she needs. So when she grow up, that's gonna be in her head. Yeah, because to me, like going to Costco and buy boxes and boxes, it sounds like cheap. They're like, oh, they're saving money. But in the long run, no, you're not saving money. You're over consuming things that you don't need.
But this is not even the issue that we're facing. I mean, this is one issue, right? But the issue that they're doing here, because people are indeed now using these medications, these shots. People have always been like the losing weight, the weight loss market has been always making millions and millions upon millions. Like since we're alive, since I can think, people are talking about losing weight, and now with these Ozempics and all of these shots, it's possible for many people, again, and not even thinking about the side effects. But what they're saying now is that because of the appetite suppression, they're going to change certain things to make the food more addictive. And that is the problem. That is the problem that we're having. So now they're going to switch it up again. It's not just the insects anymore. And Al-Nashmi, I'm very disappointed that you support this. And I still have my
chocolate.
Sister, I don't support it. I don't support it. I don't like it. To be honest, every time I remember that there are insects in the chocolate, I feel a little disgusted. But then again, I try to forget that fact. Otherwise, I can't ever eat chocolate again. And to be honest, I love I love 70% chocolate. It's good for health. It's really good for health, guys.
Dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate is good for health. But no, of course, not 100 grams.
Vegan-free chocolate, vegan chocolate.
Even vegan chocolate, sister, the cocoa still has it. You cannot remove it 100%. It's not possible, because when you try to break down the cocoa and bring it into the to make it the powder that it needs to be done, I mean the process, you still cannot remove 100% of all the insects in the field, and actually. So I don't support it, but I can't stop people from eating chocolate. I mean, if you guys want to stop eating chocolate,
never.
Fine, but for
There's no hate on chocolate. Chocolate brings a lot of happiness to the world.
Yeah, a lot of insects into your stomach, of course.
Insect with chocolate.
Because dark chocolate is very good for the heart. It's actually very good for cardiovascular disease. It's very good for the brain. So you can, but of course not eating 100 grams a day. Probably maybe 10 grams or 5 grams is fine. But that's it. One other thing I wanted to mention is you said something about getting addicted. You have to understand, one of the most addictive products in the market today is sugar.
Yes. 100%.
When they did a study, and I would advise everybody that's hearing this to go and do the research. They did a study where they put a person under an MRI and saw how the chemicals in his brain changed when he ate sugar. And what happened is the place where when you take drugs light up in the brain, that's exactly the same place where it lighted up when he ate sugar.
Yep.
So this is why when you buy a box of biscuits or buy a box of chocolates, you cannot stop eating them until you finish it.
Okay.
The reason is the brain is addicted to that substance.
Unfortunately.
So if you stop sugar, you would most probably, 1, be on a better diet, 2, lose all the weight that you've ever gained. Sugar is man's number 1 enemy, and I would always advocate for that.
I love that. I love how we're closing out on this note. The time has come to say goodbye. We've been here an hour, guys. We actually have a couple more topics, but it's not worth starting because we're going to be here for another hour. Al-Nashmi, thank you so much for joining us today. I really, really appreciate it.
Yes, it was my pleasure being here with you and Maria and having this wonderful conversation with you guys. And I hope that, you keep pushing these topics forward. And I'll be delighted if you ever need me to come back. I'm always
100%. 100%.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. I just want to say, guys, there is no need to come for the comments, in the comments for Maria. She participated. She did an excellent job. So you can spare her. Oh my God. I think what the funny part is, I say this at the end of the episode, people are always commenting while watching the episode. So you guys go back and delete the comments, whatever you said to Maria. She's great. Everybody's great. Right, Maria? Everybody's amazing, right?
Yeah, I'm amazing for sure.
Maria is an amazing person. Ness, you're an amazing person, and I really appreciate. I appreciate you guys, and it's my pleasure to be here. Really, thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. Yes,
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening to us, and thank you for tuning in wherever you tune in from. And we will be back next week with a brand new episode. Peace out.